We begin with a Fox News alert. Title 42, I'm checking my watch, is coming to an end, and we're bracing for a tidal wave of illegal immigrants.
The administration is prepping now for a mass release of border crossers from overcrowded facilities.
This, as President Joe Biden says, he is streamlining the immigration process.
Exactly.
Caroline Shively begins our coverage live from El Paso, Texas, where, Caroline, just in 17 hours at midnight tonight, it all changes.
Absolutely, Brian, Stephen, Ainsley. We're here at Gate 40 along the border wall in El Paso. It's only 4 local time, and it's pretty quiet here. But just behind that wall and the razor wire are groups of migrants, and they're just waiting. Here's what you'll see come dawn. Migrants huddled together from Central and South America, some begging Border Patrol agents to let them in. In Brownsville, 800 miles from here, Fox captured video of Texas National Guard members blocking migrants from crossing the Rio Grande into the U.S. Texans in a special task force have also deployed razor wire. Migrants have set up a tent city on the Mexico side of Brownsville. More than 10,000 migrants were caught illegally trying to sneak over the border Tuesday alone. Republicans in Congress want more agents and more resources, but the White House says the GOP is the problem.
Would like to do more. He's using the tools in front of him, but Congress refuses to act. Instead, many Republican officials want to make a political case out of this. They're not looking to meet us at the table to actually deal with this issue. They want to turn this into a political stunt.
Smugglers have told many of the migrants that come tonight when Title 42 expires, the border is wide open. The Biden administration says that's a lie, and anyone who wants to come to the country must do it legally.
We've had chaos at the border for a number of years. We have to fully fund the border security effort. The purpose of what we're doing now is making legal immigration more streamlined and moving in the direction that people know that there's a legal way to get here and not a legal way.
Shelters are already filled. If non-governmental organizations are over capacity, the administration has authorized safe mass releases of migrants to city streets. That decision is in line with a 2022 memo uncovered in legal proceedings by Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody last year. Moody says, in part, DHS plans to stand down as Title 42 expires and hundreds of thousands of migrants storm the southwest border. Now, the migrants we've talked to aren't sticking around El Paso. We were just a block away from a bus station, and for $95, you could get to Albuquerque or LA. The folks at the Greyhound station downtown say they're seeing many migrants head to New York and Chicago. Brian, Stephen, Ainsley, back to you.
Here they come. Caroline, so do the migrants, from what you understand on the other side of the border, do they understand that when Title 42 goes away, they're going to bring back Title 8? And if you try to get into the country illegally, you are excluded from coming in for 5 years. Do they understand that?
No, absolutely not. They're not watching the news. They can't even get on the apps. Their news source is coming from the smugglers, coming from the cartels, and they are saying, look, Title 42, it's over at midnight. Just come on in. The gates are going to open. So they are very confused when they arrive. They see the razor wire, the border agents, and hear this information. A lot of confusion on both sides of the border.
All right. Thanks, Caroline. Appreciate it. So let's look at Title 42. It's going away. Title 8 is there. But who knows, because the system is so overwhelmed, they're not even getting people. Do you know we already have over 500,000, well over 500,000 gotaways? That means they're not even stopping to check in and say, sign my name. The app is a joke. TikTok now has put out a video that's been viewed 96 million times. It says, Title 42 is over. You cannot be deported. So let me ask you, what message does that send? I'm coming now. The only thing stopping them, and Bill Melugin providing that video, is the Texas Special Forces that they put together. It's not even the Lone Star. It's beyond that. They have their own they don't own aircraft carrier, but they have their own airplanes. They're out there trying to hunt down people and tell them to go around, to turn around. Meanwhile, the President of the United States admits it's going to be chaotic from 2 days ago. But Mayorkas will have a press conference today at 10 o'clock and say everything is under control.
So asylum rules, these are the asylum rules. They've been tweaked. Any claim that hasn't been logged online first, you're rejected. You can't come to the country. Title 8, to your point, Steve, if you're caught sneaking into our country, you will be deported, they say.
Right.
That means you as an illegal immigrant can't apply to enter legally in our country for 5 years. Does anyone really buy that that's going to happen?
No.
Right.
No, they don't. It was outlined in a memo in 2022 that was discovered by Ashley Moody down in Florida. And top border officials have now authorized this. If CBP and the NGOs can't hold the migrants, they can now be released at bus stops and gas stations, grocery stores, and elsewhere. They're suggesting that if they do release them near like a bus station or a place where they can have transportation.
It's just a disaster. And I'm glad Caroline pointed out that the cartels are the ones pushing the message. Hey, at midnight, they're going to open the door and you can go on in. Obviously, that's not going to be the case. But what the administration wants is they don't want this image that you're looking at right here, where those people are, they've risked their lives to get to the United States, and then there at the top is a bunch of razor wire, and they can't get in. They want people who want to come into the country to use the app and apply at these regional centers. Apparently, the Department of State is going to open 100 regional centers around the world where if you want to go to the United States, you've got to do it legally. We've been talking about the one BP app or CBP app, and apparently it's been such a disaster. They're going to come out with a new scheduling app later today so that what happens there doesn't happen after tonight. And it's just exactly the same way as maybe the federal government should not be in the app or website business, because remember when the Affordable Care Act went online and that was a disaster? Millions of people tried to go on. They couldn't do it. Well, now there's a new app coming for the folks down south.
At least Obama tried to fix it. They've been waiting forever. They said they're going to set up ports of places in Colombia and Guatemala. It's not ready yet. And those places where people can apply for admission to our country, they're called embassies. We already built them. I'm pretty sure they're done. So that's normal situation. In New York, to give you an idea how this is flooding into our cities, it's not just making the border cities third world. In New York, there's over 60,000 people who have come through the system. Thousands are going to pour in. We could have 100,000 in New York City. And Mayor Adams says, I don't take this lightly, but we've been temporarily suspending the policy surrounding timing for placement. They're saying they're not placing people in shelters anymore. And the surrounding counties in New York are saying, we're not sanctuary. We're not taking any of them. And in Rockland, they had a judge ruled you cannot unload your bus at any hotels in that county.
Meanwhile,
so this is because Biden has no policy for the federal government. New York is fighting with each other.
Biden was here in the city last night. It took 3 hours basically to get from one place to the next. The whole Upper East Side was
gridlock.
Yeah, gridlock. You could not move. They shut down all of Fifth Avenue. He's there for a fundraiser up on Fifth in the 90s somewhere. And then you're looking at these images. You're like, you're there fundraising with, drinking your wine or whatever with all your friends. And this is happening down on the border. We need a leader who cares about this. We need someone who's going to be strong on this. President Trump was the one who was building the wall, who was trying to end all of this illegal immigration. And he was interviewed, surprisingly, on CNN yesterday on this town hall. Listen to what he said about what's happening on our southern border.
Tomorrow is going to be a day of infamy. You're going to have tens of thousands of people pouring into our country. You're going to have millions of people pouring into our country right now at a level that nobody's ever seen before. These people are sick. Anybody that wants this to happen to our country, they're destroying our country, and this should not be allowed to happen. How they're not going to do a version of Title 42 or my Title 42, which was tough. If people are sick and have infectious diseases and lots of other problems, we don't want them being into our country. We have enough problems right now. We have problems like we've never had in the history of our country.
And see, that's what Title 42 was designed for, if people were sick with COVID, to turn them around. Of course, it ends at midnight. What happens after that? Tune in tomorrow. We'll show you.
You can't touch the former president's immigration strategy. If you are the Biden people, you can't even bring up Trump with a straight face, because the last year was 430,000 people, and he thought that was too many. You've already let in 1.2 million this fiscal year with 550,000 gotaways, which is a rough estimate and always a low
That's just
estimate.
what we know, Brian.
And the first story in the New York Times today, why is it that so many people are coming to the border? You really have to do a story on that? They're talking about unemployment being the reason. Are you crazy? This isn't about unemployment. This is not about communism or socialism. This is about, my God, I have a chance to get into the best country in the world for free and won't have an appearance ticket for 10 years. That should be your 3-line story in the New York Times.
Also, today, down in our nation's capital, Pete Hegseth is in Washington. Yesterday, we were telling you about how it's Police Appreciation Week and month, and today he's at the Back the Blue bike tour on Capitol Hill. Hey, Pete.
Yeah, good morning, guys. It's a moment to put the focus on the people that do the hard work day in and day out. It's the Back the Blue ride. Speaker McCarthy, House Republicans are going to be driving from the Capitol here down to the Lincoln Memorial to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial to recognize those who serve every day. In fact, the flag here at the Capitol is at half staff because of that shooting in Allen, Texas, and that law enforcement officer who stepped up and took down the shooter. So even here at our nation's capital, they're recognizing the blue. Next week is National Police Week. So Speaker McCarthy and the Republicans are going to take that ride today along with police officers just to remember the men and women of blue who do things for us every single day. We're going to interview a few of them this morning and kick off that ride here on Fox and Friends in the next hour.
So glad you're there, Pete.
Yeah,
Good
we
job.
really appreciate them.
Appreciate it. Meanwhile,
You
coming
got
up, we'll check in with you throughout the 3 hours. Coming up straight ahead, there's a new development in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway. What's happening with the prime suspect and how this could bring her family one step closer to justice.
Plus, the mainstream media turns a blind eye to explosive claims about the...
We are back with some headlines, starting with this. Police in Lakeland, Florida say an officer was shot in the foot by a 13-year-old last night. He is currently recovering in the hospital. The officer was responding to the sound of a gunshot from a park before other officers chased down the teenager and exchanged gunfire with him. The suspect, who has a criminal history, was struck by several bullets and was also taken to the hospital. Randy Weingarten is now encouraging teachers to erase their social media history, offering the American Federation of Teachers a partnership with a company that offers social media scrubbing software. The teachers union boss tweeting, "Our union is here for you to help your future and future-proof your social media." The American Federation of Teachers Union has partnered with Life Brand for a 25% discount off the cost of the powerful tool that scans your social media to catch forgotten posts that may not reflect who you are today. Okay, so to baseball now. The New York Yankees sweeping the Oakland A's last night with a little help from the fans. Watch.
I thought that looked like interference. I mean, if you're outfielder and you're trying to catch that and you see two other gloves trying to go at it with you, that's distracting.
That's why they pay them millions of dollars to
If
play.
you don't mind, let's go out live to Major League Baseball. Let's blow the commercial. Let's go. Can we see that one more time and make it an overruling?
Did you see it
By the
in
way,
slow motion?
I did. But I think you're 100% right. But they won. They did lose 11-2, and they only have 8 wins in the entire year. So the A's are terrible.
So in
Nobody
that
cares.
case, it
right.
doesn't matter.
And even in
Is that what you're
Oakland,
saying?
in Oakland, they don't care either because they're moving to Las Vegas. So that's where. So if you're
Okay.
playing the A's, it doesn't matter.
right.
They're not even trying.
Well, somebody out in the outfield got a ball that everybody's talking about today.
That's true.
It's on their mantle.
That's true.
That
And
guy
I'm not
right
going to
there.
lose any sleep over it.
Right. Me neither.
All right. After almost 18 years, the main suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway is now being extradited back to the United States.
The Peruvian government has agreed to temporarily hand Joran van der Sloot over to stand trial in Alabama for allegedly scamming Holloway's family.
Todd Pyro's been all over this story. Todd.
Yeah, Steve Ainsley and Brian, the extradition process expected to begin today. The Dutch national currently serving a 28-year sentence in Peru for the murder of another woman believed to be the last person to have seen Natalie Holloway alive. As you know, the Alabama teen vanished in 2005 while on a senior trip to Aruba. She was seen leaving a nightclub with van der Sloot. Her body never found despite a years-long search. In 2010, an Alabama grand jury indicted van der Sloot on wire fraud and extortion charges. According to officials, he reached out to Holloway's mother demanding $250,000 for information on where to find Holloway's body. The family wired an initial $25,000 payment, but van der Sloot fed them false information. That same year, he was arrested in Peru for the murder of 21-year-old Stephanie Flores. Van der Sloot ultimately pleading guilty, sentenced to 28 years behind bars. In 2014, a judge legally declaring Natalee Holloway dead. Just yesterday, Holloway's family announcing van der Sloot is being extradited to the U.S. The Peruvian government saying, quote, "We will continue to collaborate on legal issues with allies such as the United States and many others with which we have extradition treaties." Van der Sloot's lawyer saying, quote, "I am going to challenge that resolution. I am going to oppose it since he has a right to a defense." Holloway's mother, Beth, releasing a statement saying, quote, "It has been a very long and painful journey, but the persistence of many is going to pay off. Together, we are finally getting justice for Natalee." Natalee Holloway, just 18 years old when she vanished. This month marks 18 years since her disappearance. Excuse me. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Todd.
Hard to believe that long, 18 years
I feel
ago.
like we never got closure, though. There were some videos where
They never
he
found the
was-
body.
Right.
All right, 22 minutes after the hour. Fox News alert. Today's front cover, the New York Post. Quote, "It pays to be a Biden." It comes, as top Republicans claim, Biden family members, 9 of them, received millions of dollars from foreign nationals, including a $1 billion payment to Hunter while his dad was VP.
The Bidens have received millions of dollars from China. It is inconceivable that the president did not know it. The White House refuses to correct the president's statements, showing the president is now using the federal government to run interference for his families and his own role in these schemes.
All right, so that's a little snippet of what you saw yesterday on Fox News Channel. But if you weren't watching Fox, as you can see right there, the other big nets, ABC, CBS, and NBC, no live coverage.
Well, Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. I mean, Joe, the other networks don't think it's a story. They don't care, or they don't want the public to know about it.
It's amazing. People forget the ABC, NBC, CBS evening newscasts, 20 million people still watch that combined.
Sure.
And they give it the Dean Wormer treatment, 0.0 minutes. I looked also at the New York Times, CNN, and Washington Post yesterday evening, right before the Trump town hall. The New York Times, its 6 top stories were about George Santos. CNN, top 6 stories, Santos. Washington Post, top 4. You can barely find anything on the Comer investigation and the allegations. And think about what we're talking about here. George Santos is a freshman congressman. Is it a story? Yes, it is. But Joe Biden is the sitting president of the United States. And his family members, according to Comer, made millions of dollars in all these different countries where we may have a little interest in what's going on in terms of China, Ukraine, Russia, Romania was revealed yesterday as well. That is a major, major story.
It might be like the laptop. They're going to say, we're not running this story until it becomes a big story.
It's the 11th commandment, thou shalt not talk about Biden scandals, forbidden fruit, third rail. Use your analogy. That's the way this is being treated,
I thought
Brian.
the press conference was riveting. It was unbelievably detailed, and what they did is so smart. Instead of subpoenaing Hunter and the family and having them fight it for 2 years, they go, let me just find out what the bank records say. Kind of shocked him. Then they get the bank records, so they show 20 different companies being set up to benefit 9 different family members. And Joe, in the big picture, this is the thing that no one can answer. What did they do? What are these companies for?
Yeah.
What did they yield? Trump builds hotels, golf courses. You don't like that he built them? Fine. Whatever you say where you got the bricks, go investigate. But they don't know. No one seems to care that they got millions of dollars and we don't know what they got, what they gave in return.
Yeah, Brian, the sales term is what's the value add, right? What services were provided? And no one can define that here. And look, during the Trump administration, it was always he said, she said, right? A source close to the president claims. In this case, there are literally bank receipts, right? There is actual receipts here that have a trail that go back to not just Hunter Biden, but goes to James Biden, Hallie Biden, who's a guidance counselor in Delaware. Why is she getting tens of thousands of dollars? What service did she provide? These are questions that, let's put it this way, if this was Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr., you would run out of hours of the day to cover this in terms of the other networks.
Well, it's just a basic journalism thing. The why is missing. Why they got the money, why they were paid the money. They did not reveal that. James Comer is going to be with us in 35 minutes. We'll ask him a little more.
That's very precise.
The best, shortest, easiest question.
Joe,
Why?
that's right. Joe, thank you very much.
Great to see you guys.
I'll see you back in the neighborhood.
Giddy up.
How close do y'all live?
Less than
3
a
blocks.
mile.
I always see him in his yard. He's like taking like Jello baths. It's very odd stuff. Yeah.
You can actually see me in the backyard like that?
Front yard sometimes.
Okay.
You're brazen about it at this point. You're at the I don't care mode since you hit 45.
That's the truth.
They still make Jello?
I think so.
Something like that.
All
Bye.
right.
We got to go.
Okay, meanwhile, coming up, the surge of illegal immigrants is impacting one border town and turning it into a third world country. A man who lives there joins us live.
Plus, actress Charlize, I say Theron, some say Theron, issuing an extreme threat to conservatives. What she said about a hot button issue.
We're back with some headlines, starting with this. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says Jordan Neely's death on a subway train proves the city needs to force some troubled New Yorkers to go to the hospital.
The tragic reality of severe mental illness is that some who suffer from it are at times unaware of their own need for care. We cannot and will not accept this state of affairs.
Neely died earlier this month after being put in a chokehold by a Marine veteran. Authorities are investigating his death, which sparked massive protests throughout the city as a homicide. Actress Charlize Theron is threatening conservatives who are concerned about drag queens sexualizing children. Watch Telethon, the fundraiser aiming to fight bills in GOP-led states that are trying to keep children away from drag performances. And then Los Angeles is thinking about letting civilians enforce the rules of the road as the city looking to do away with traffic stops. A draft report says unarmed civilians would be used for safety-related traffic violations like speeding. The proposal comes as LA experiences a major spike in road deaths and injuries since 2021. And those are some of your headlines, Brian. Back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Ashley. All right, Title 42 expires in a matter of hours, and there's already a major influx of legal immigrants invading border towns, including El Paso. It's so bad, people are camping in the streets. Blas Hermosillo lives there and joins us now. Blas, how would you describe what is happening to your town?
Well, you know what? Basically, what's going on here right now, there's an influx. We're being overrun. Let me take you back to a 2002 movie by Mel Gibson, When We Were Soldiers, when they were just finally being overrun. Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow is taking place across the borders here in America, and nobody's getting the truth. The bottom line is nobody's getting the truth.
So they're living on the streets. I'm seeing the sanitation issues, big time to sanitize that statement. When you go up to them and talk to them, who are these people? Where are they from? And why are they coming now?
Well, let me tell you, it's residents of Venezuela, just South America, and they're coming up here because they think they have an opportunity to come and achieve citizenship. Of course, they didn't make it up on their own. They were being told this somewhere along the way, but at the end of the day, they think that if they come here, even if they get sent back, because I did ask them, even if they get sent back, they just feel that if they can work 6 to 8 months to maybe even a year, for them, it's 5 to 10 years worth of income that they would have generated back there where they're from. And also, you think some of these countries, like Fidel Castro did, are emptying their prisons, aren't they? Oh, definitely. You know, these people that you're seeing are not your typical citizen. They have tattoos, they got the gang marks, and we're so concerned with a lot of the gangs that come in from South America. But during COVID, far more dangerous alliances, organizations have been formed. And this comes directly, from people that work within, Homeland Security that are sharing this with the people on the streets. And it is just a very dangerous situation. The only thing that has not been broken is the spirit of Americans, the good deeds that we try to do for one another as humans, but it's broken. And sadly, it's not just our immigration, it's our government, our education system, our financial system. Truly, I have to call, as a former veteran, broken arrow, Brian. Blas, your mayor welcomed the President of the United States there. He scooped up and hosed down the city and made it seem like everything's great. That must drive you crazy, because you know the reality. You know what was sanitized. They're doing guard dog drills in front of the president. But if the president's watching right now, if anyone at the White House has cable, what is your message to them about El Paso? Well, I'll tell you this: guard dog is too nice of a term. It just happened again. They just did this a day ago, 24, 48 hours ago. They re-cleaned up the streets. And, the county judge comes out and says, oh, even the migrants are helping us clean up the streets. what a mockery of the intelligence of the American people as they think that they can just smokescreen us. But, it's no doubt that what's happening here today was planned ahead. Even the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, said a long time ago, we are watching America crumble right before our faces. But how is this possible? The enemy has to be from within. And I truly believe that, Brian. And it's just a sad state of affairs all the way here from our local government, all the way up to the administration. As you know, El Paso, Texas is very blue, and I can see the influence happening there.
Right. And if that Democratic mayor had an ounce of integrity, he would put party aside and call out this administration. And I'm going to add one more thing to this. Not only is the El Salvador president know what's going on and can't believe it, but the Guatemalan president tried to warn this White House that I got 80,000 people passing through my country. They're coming your way.
Yes.
And he can't get he can't get them to pick up the phone. Not even an email back.
Yes. And, remember this, as these people come in, the whole plan, and this has been put in a long time ago, people have called it conspiracy, but it's happening right before our eyes. If they get here, they achieve amnesty, even going back to the DACA. An the reason the left doesn't want to say anything is because they'll get an overwhelmingly following in votes, and that's just basically how you're going to unlevel government and community.
You should be pro-American if you're running for office. Blas Hermosillo,
exactly.
Thanks so much, and thanks for your service. Appreciate it. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead, you're welcome, sir. Ahead of National Police Week, the third annual Back the Blue bike ride happens today. Pete.
Unless we give in to their threats and demands as to what they think we should be doing with regard to the budget. This would be incredibly damaging.
Well, you could also argue that incredibly damaging is the amount of spending that has been happening under Democratic leadership. Listen to Republicans on this.
And it's just that. This town is not used to cutting anything. It's used to spending tax dollars of other people's money.
I think it's the right deal. If Democrats don't like it, which is fine, they ought to provide some alternatives as opposed to just complaining and doing nothing.
Biden needs to man up and come to the table and work with folks to rein in spending. We can't keep doing this.
A new poll shows us now that, believe it or not, 35% say they have a great deal or fair amount of confidence in Biden's economy. Only 35%. That means over 60%, 64% say they have only a little, almost none, as far as confidence in this president. And all this is over the debt ceiling. Remember, June 1st is now the deadline that we're talking about here. Many economists say they really need to get a deal next week on the books here. And so far,
it's not looking too good.
It's not looking too good. But, there's got to be a compromise somewhere.
I still want to meet those 35% are like, this economy is great. Joe Biden is crushing it.
I want to know who they are, too.
Meantime, absolutely ridiculous proposal out of San Francisco. No shocker there.
Yeah, so this is a San Francisco City Council member, District 5 in San Francisco. He says he's a Democrat socialist. He's speaking out on what he thinks
grabs you can only use a headlock, or you can only use this move. It's the most ridiculous thing.
Well, I'll tell you what, as far as Dean Preston and these comments on Twitter, here are some of my favorites. Pass a law that protects law-abiding citizens. It should be illegal to be this dumb. Dems doubling down on insanity. Those are my three favorites. There's a lot of responses on Twitter. It's got like 1.5 million views.
Oh my gosh. We all love that line. This guy would never be in a fight or never was in a fight. It's pretty apt.
I mean, you just want to drive out, your residents. Well, this is how you do it.
There you go. Cheryl, thank you.
Breaking right now, Title
our Border Act, and joins us now. Congressman, thank you for being with us. We want to know a little more about this bill and what exactly it does.
Well, it solves the situation, the catastrophe that we have in the southern border. You all know that right now, the folks who determine who comes into the United States across the southern border are the narco cartels. And the president said that he wanted a humane policy. What's humane about 300 Americans dying every day? What's humane about 900 migrants dying just last year? What's humane about thousands and thousands, according to the New York Times, over 87,000 unaccompanied children that are being used for forced labor and other things? That's not humane. That's insane. And so this would secure the border. It would fix in a real way the asylum process that is frankly totally broken. And it would, again, return to the southern border